up next on All About Android, Huawei is back in Android's good graces, and apparently the FCC said it's cool if Verizon locks up SIMs again. We will also talk about some tips that we got in from our loyal viewers, and Matteo Doni has a review of the Nokia 4.2. All of this is coming up next on All About Android.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This episode of All About Android is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Protect your online privacy with one click. Yes, it's that easy. For 3 extra months free with a 1-year package, go to expressvpn.com/allaboutandroid. And by IT Pro TV, providing effective training with access to virtual labs and practice tests. Visit go.itpro.tv/allaboutandroid to take advantage of their lowest prices ever. For an additional 30% off for the lifetime of your active subscription, use code AAA30 at checkout.
Hello and welcome to All About Android. This is episode 427, recorded live on July 2nd, 2019. We are your weekly source for the latest news, hardware, and apps for the Android faithful. I am Florence Ion.
And I'm Ron Richards. And we are Jason Howless.
We are, but we brought in his stead our returning guest of many moons,
returning
Matteo
champion.
Doni.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I have some very big feet or shoes to fill in.
Or hooves.
I don't know about hook. Wait a minute. Jason's not a goat.
Very good, Flo.
Listen, I was just trying to give something to the diehard fans, okay? I'm putting it in there.
Well, so Jason is on vacation, and so we were happy to tap Matteo, who I do believe is probably the most active guest on the show of all time. I don't have the numbers to back that up, but I'm pretty sure that's solid.
Even though it's 2 a.m. his time, right? Isn't it 2 a.m. your time?
1 a.m.
What? 1 a.m. his time. See, you're partying with us technically.
Exactly.
Matteo,
we don't have the numbers. We don't have any evidence, but it's scientific fact.
Hey, I'll take it because listen, you always go the extra mile for us, and we appreciate it. So, and it's exciting week of Android news. So, what do you say we get right into it?
Surprisingly, because it's the
so.
Week of
Also,
holiday.
we should note that in addition to Jason, Victor is not here.
Yes.
And I realize we have Anthony behind the board. Anthony,
Correct.
It's good to have you on the team. Hello.
Oh, thank you. Hello.
Are you prepared to introduce Android news?
Yes.
I am not. I haven't had time to come up with anything witty, so let's
That's the whole
so
point. You got to come up with it on the mark.
insert witty comment here. It's time for Android news.
Okay.
See, you see
that.
now what you didn't have in wit, you made up with an old timey voice,
Exactly.
which I think is great. Is a good way to go.
Oh, thank you.
So all right, so we'll get right into the news. We've been tracking the Huawei drama. I feel like this is the soap opera of Huawei.
No longer a security threat to the United
Yeah.
States of America.
Well, there's Flo. You want do you want to do the story?
No. Sorry.
So we try to avoid politics generally on this show, but it's hard with this story to avoid it. But in a stunning, unprecedented 180 and turnaround by the American government, Huawei has now been deemed that American companies can do business with them once again, which puts Huawei back in the mix in the Android world. Now, it doesn't take Huawei completely out of the fire. Huawei is still on the Commerce Department's entity list, which means that they're still on, the dealing with the China-U.S. relations. But this statement by the American government allows Google and Intel and Qualcomm and other companies to provide services to Huawei. And basically, this all happened at the G20 summit, or coming out of the G20 summit, where the U.S. and China have resumed trade talks. And, whatever you want to say about all that. But I, for one, am disappointed by this news because I really wanted to see what Huawei came up with an alternate operating system for Android. And I hope this doesn't mean we'll never see it. Matteo, have you been tracking the drama of Huawei? I assume you have been.
Yes, I have been, and it's been very, very interesting to see posturing at both sides of this story.
Indeed.
Both the U.S. government and the Chinese government and Huawei. And essentially, the narrative hasn't changed that much over the last few months. What has changed, I think, is from the US side, how many US businesses were starting to be negatively affected by this. Google, for example, couldn't really go into a new product's release cycle with the next version of Android, Android 10, with the second largest smartphone manufacturer in the world not being fully on board with their flavor of Android. So I think this is something that has been on the cards for a while. It's just been put off, and we're back to business as usual with Huawei and US businesses. The issue will be, I think, more in the long run. How will this affect Huawei's commitment to new versions of Android? How dependent will they want to be on US businesses going forward to avoid this issue happening again? This was going to be very interesting to watch, and also to see how other Chinese smartphone manufacturers, companies like Oppo, Xiaomi, and others, how much are they going to want to depend on US relations to make their products. So whilst we won't see Hongmeng, Huawei's own operating system that runs Android apps, in the near future, it won't be as far back on the back burner as it used to be. I think that this will be actively developed a little bit more.
I'm going to be curious how this trickles down to other Chinese companies. I mean, is this just going to make people scared to work with us? Because
that's the thing, is that this threat will be hanging over all Chinese U.S. relations.
It's a political thing now. This is a political thing, so it's not just business. This was solved at the G20 summit, which is a very political thing.
Yeah. And the thing is, after you.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying, I'm sure there was also a little bit of hinting from the Chinese government along the lines of, oh, you have all these fruity devices and container vessels about to be shipped over to the US. I think you need to fill in Form P30 and Mate 20 Pro before we can let these container vessels leave port. Think of how damaging potentially it could be to have a year with no iPhone release because of this trade war.
Oh, overseas, you mean?
Well, let's not go too far, Matteo. How damaging could it? I mean, like,
it would be great for the Android ecosystem.
We do love conspiracy theories here at All About Android.
That's the real challenge. Where do we embrace our patriotism or our loyalty to the green Android character? But no, you got to hope that it doesn't, start this, if this trade, conflict continues or takes another turn, it doesn't impact services like shipping and stuff like that. Because not just because of think how damaging it will be if a shipment of phones don't get there, but think how damaging if a shipment of the long list of products that are now made in China don't make it to the U.S. Things that we've become dependent on because manufacturing has left this country, and so it's definitely a delicate issue, and it's interesting to see Huawei become the political football that was kind of in the middle of it. And if I'm Huawei, I don't stop developing Hongmeng. You keep doing everything you're doing.
Now they need a backup plan.
Yeah, because guess what? Next week he can go in the opposite direction again. Mm-hmm. There's no guarantee here.
Mm-hmm.
No.
True. But let's face it, Huawei have been essentially Googleless in China since they started making smartphones. It's nothing new to them. It's just they had to have a compelling product for outside of China without Google services, which was the interesting challenge they would have had. Luckily for us and the majority of consumers outside China, this hasn't had to happen. But I'm sure that that Huawei will be constantly thinking about what are they going to do without depending on US businesses that much.
Yeah, it's going to trickle down to other companies too. It's gonna be interesting.
I can't believe the twists and turns the story's taken in the short amount of time. It's only been a few weeks, so and you got to wonder how much time and resources were spent dealing with this decision that was now just reversed and now is going to have to dealt with the other direction.
How many late nights were put in to try and figure out a plan B?
Yeah.
Well, our next news item is unfortunate for, I guess, Verizon users, which would put me in that field because I am a subscriber to Big Red. Now, I remember back in the day when you would buy a Verizon phone and you couldn't use it anywhere else. I'm not saying that we're going back to that, but it sure is. I mean, let's look at it this way. So the FCC has officially told Verizon that it's cool if they lock down SIMs for 60 days. Now, what this means is that basically if you get a new phone number through Verizon, or rather if you get a new phone through Verizon, you have to use it through them for 60 days locked. Apparently, this was to help kind of curb fraud and theft. That's what Verizon told the FCC. So the FCC said, okay, we'll let you do this on a couple of accounts. So after the 60-day period, Verizon has to automatically unlock the handset that you bought. They absolutely have to do that, regardless of whether you've asked for it to be unlocked or whether you've paid it off. So at the end of that initial 60 days, the unlocking rule will go through just as it does with every other carrier, just as it is standard practice. The FCC also added that there is one exception to this particular rule. Verizon will not have to automatically unlock handsets that it determines within the 60-day period to have been purchased through fraud. So if for some reason a phone that you've purchased just seems to have come from a somewhat nefarious source, perhaps the back of someone's pickup truck or the inside of a person's jacket, it's probably going to be locked up by Verizon for 60 days per this new little rule. I don't know. At first when I saw the headline, I thought, oh God, here's Big Red going back to its old ways of locking us down and making sure we're tied in to its cellular graces. But I also kind of can see the point on this, just because fraud is a thing. I don't know. You guys are more free than I am. Fraud is a thing. You guys are more free than I am. What do you think?
I'm just still laughing at fraud is a thing.
That's all I can come up with. I'm sorry.
And you've just passed the ball to the two guys with Italian heritage here.
Exactly. It'd be a real shame if something happened to your cell phone, lady.
Fraud and tax evasion are a sport.
Guys, I'm Eastern European, so if we're going to talk about stereotypes here.
Matteo, I do not know what you're referring to. I'm a legitimate businessman. No, I mean,
you're on T-Mobile. You're free to roam.
I am on T-Mobile. I've been unlocked since day one, really. And I haven't. It was funny. I logged into my T-Mobile account to see if I was qualified for like a free phone as like an upgrade, and I totally am, because I haven't taken advantage of that in like 8 years, because I've just been rolling Nexuses and OnePluses and review phones and things like that. But it's funny how your first reaction to this is to be dubious of Verizon. Like, you don't believe that it's a security issue.
Yeah, I think that this is just a way to kind of keep a lockdown on who. I think it's a way to keep a lockdown. I'm trying to come up with like a real reason besides this is just a company, and the company is going to do whatever is best in their interest. On the plus side, Verizon hasn't actually implemented this yet, so they're now crafting together the whole press release and the whole like fine print before they kind of tell everybody this is the new policy. I do wonder how this is going to affect some people, because I wonder if this is going to have some backlash. For instance, families who share phones. I was in a family that shared a lot of phones for a long time. We would pass one down to the other, and that's the way it went. And I wonder if this will affect that in any case. It's interesting. And if Verizon can do it, what does that mean for the other carriers, the other operators who want to come in and put in their own rules? Because Verizon basically went to the FCC and said, pretty please, could we do this? Because we're so worried about people stealing things from us. And the FCC did it. So who's to say that any other carrier, operator, company can't come in and go, please, FCC, like, help me. I need to make sure no one's stealing my profits.
But wait a moment, isn't the chairman of the FCC a former Verizon executive?
No, he's an idiot. I don't know what his previous job was, but
I'm going to Google that real quick.
Just YouTube John Oliver FCC, and you can learn all you need to know about.
Oh yeah, he was a lobbyist for Verizon.
Of course he was. Of course he was.
So when Verizon asks, pretty please.
Good catch, Matteo. Thank you for catching that.
But what I find interesting is that even in the UK, where some networks still subsidize the cost of the handset, the networks have moved away from locking devices just because the cost of administering that is so high. I'm wondering what the sort of value is to the phone network, to Verizon in this case, for locking the handsets. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Me too.
But I'm sure there's a spreadsheet somewhere at Verizon that makes sense and justifies this business need.
If you don't believe security, and if you believe it's like some sort of anti-competition method, how many, Matteo, to your point, how many people are buying their phones from Verizon and popping in a SIM from T-Mobile? I mean, I don't even know how you would track that, but is that what they're worried about? They just want to lock people into their service for 60 days or 90 days?
I think they're worried about people selling phones outside of Verizon. And
like secondary market?
Yeah. Verizon wants that money for those devices, and in addition to the contract. So why would it allow other people to come in and sell things for them? Like, I imagine how this is going to affect third-party sellers. You know, if you have a favorite, like, cell phone store that you like to go to, those are still around.
Yeah, Carphone Warehouse, right?
Yep. Isn't that overseas? That's overseas.
Yes, we have them in the UK.
Yeah. So they're not here. We have like sketchy Bill's beepers and phones places here that you don't want to buy a phone from. But people do. Walmart, you can get the On phone. Anyway, all right, one last news item.
Yeah.
We thought this was interesting news because it actually happened to one of us. I woke up Monday morning and I had two very odd notifications waiting for me with the OnePlus logo in the corner, and it was just nonsense. Like literally as if like a child typed on the keyboard, and just did whatever. Turns out that OnePlus we can reset it's been X number of days since OnePlus had a marketing flub. Once OnePlus posted on their forums that they did push out 2 push notifications to OnePlus 7 Pro users, and they were related to internal tests of their upcoming Android Q system update. They were sent using the Google Firebase cloud messaging protocol, and they assured everyone that personal data had not been compromised. And they said that they're putting in systems to make sure this doesn't happen again. And yes, if you're watching the video version of our program, you can see what the messages look like that I woke up to. Literally nonsense. And what's so bizarre is my first thought was, oh God, I've been hacked or something happened with OnePlus. Like, that's your first thought because it just doesn't make any sense. But turns out they were just testing the notification system.
Well, it works.
Yeah, it works. And now China's tracking me. So
cool. I heard the translation for that, by the way, was ha 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 ha. So I don't know. Somebody's laughing.
The Latin character one looked as if a cat had walked across the keyboard.
That's a good point, Matteo. It could have been a kitty that accidentally sent a push notification. Yep, a keyboard cat just went.
Matteo, real quickly, OnePlus 7 Pro, OnePlus 7, thumbs up, thumbs down. What do you think? We haven't talked to you since it came out.
Yeah.
Lovely device. Thumbs up. My only issue with the device is the camera's not as good as the competition, especially since the price difference has changed. They're much closer to the price of, for example, a Huawei P30 Pro. I think that's the space they lack in. But the industrial design is lovely. It's good to see that have come out of China properly in the sense of the pop-up selfie camera and that all lovely full-screen display.
Ron, how are you adjusting with that pop-up camera, by the way?
It's great because I don't take selfies.
Okay, then. I guess that's true. You don't need it because you're not.
The only thing that was weird with it was that I previously on previous phones used the smart unlock, the face unlock, because it's nice to just look at the phone and have it unlock. But with the with the hidden away selfie cam, every time you turn on your phone, the camera would pop up and then pop down. And so I turned that off, so I no longer use that to unlock my phone. But I don't really take selfies. I've taken maybe like 5 in the last since I got this phone, and that was mainly to take a picture of me while I'm holding a baby.
Mm-hmm.
But my baby, not someone else's.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, it hasn't really impacted me. The back camera, the rear-facing camera, I think is great. I've taken some great shots with it. I think it looks really good. It's at least on par with the OnePlus 6T, which I loved. So yeah.
Apparently, you can download the Pixel camera app or the Google camera app, and it'll do some magic. I don't know. I've just been seeing it on social media. Haven't tried it myself. So we've got an email, which are always fun. It's always fun to get reader feedback. Viewer feedback. I spend so much time behind a computer, I forget that people are not just reading things that I'm doing. They're also watching them and listening. So this one comes in from Mike Reif. Mike writes in, I was editing my Google Tasks list in my browser, not the Android app. I was deleting a number of tasks one at a time and accidentally deleted a task I wanted to keep. Muscle memory kicked in, and as a knee-jerk reaction, my hand pressed Control-Z and my task was undeleted. For kicks, I tried Control-Z multiple times, and Google Tasks undeleted other tasks as well. I did not know that this was possible before. I recalled seeing the undo delete pop-up, but did not know you could do multiple Control-Zs. FYI, I also noticed that you can add a time to your tasks, and then it will show up on your calendar. Thank you, Mike. Those are all really good tips. Control-Z, for those who are not familiar, is the undo command on Windows. I believe on Mac it would be Command-C. And so it's just kind of a nice little tip to know going into Google Docs. Anybody out there?
I will say you would think that it didn't work because you're on the web, and previously the web didn't really have any contained memory. But I got to tell you, what they're doing with the DOM in Chrome and in Firefox and in Safari now, if you dig deep into your browser processes and the amount of memory being used on your in your session, like doing web development for 20 plus years, in the involvement I have been on, the amount of data that is remembered on the front end of the browser and then synced next time you load and stuff like that, it's just it blows away what we did back in the early days. Like it's crazy that it keeps track of your stuff to undo. That's amazing.
And that's why we have browser apps. That's why we have the browser as a platform. That's what Chrome is now. That's why I'm using it right now.
Indeed.
Ron.
All right.
Should we make some money?
Let's do it in a more subtle way. We want to thank our first sponsor for sponsoring this episode of All About Android. This episode is brought to you by ExpressVPN. And listen, if you believe that you're not being snooped on or that nobody cares about your online data, I'm going to be honest with you, you're wrong. All right. Because you listen to this show, you know that privacy is under attack. We talk about it all the time. Hackers, governments, ISPs, they're gobbling up your data. And that's why we recommend getting the software that I trust to protect my online activity, ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN's apps use powerful encryption to secure your data. ExpressVPN runs in the background of your computer or your phone, and you use the internet just like you normally do. It just works in the background there. You don't have to do anything specific. You download the app, click to connect, and you're protected. Listen, you don't want to go online without ExpressVPN. I wouldn't go online. You shouldn't either. ExpressVPN is the fastest VPN I've ever tried. In fact, it costs less than $7 a month and comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. And listen, ExpressVPN now has a cutting-edge technology called Trusted Server to make sure there are no logs of what you do online. It's time to stop the hackers, Big Brother, and internet companies from grabbing all your data. Take back your online privacy like I did with ExpressVPN. And listen, when we all do a lot of stuff on the internet. We have our own little corners that we go in and stuff that we do. You don't want to broadcast what you're doing to everybody. You want to protect your data, and a VPN is the only way to do that. And ExpressVPN is the most powerful and the most fastest. I was having a conversation with somebody the other day about the importance of a VPN and how you're not just, like back in the day, you would have a firewall and that would protect you. But, it seems as if just as fast as solutions come up, hackers figure out how to poke holes in them. And ExpressVPN is the best way to protect yourself because VPN is the best protection you can have. So protect your online activity today and find out how you can get 3 extra months free with a 1-year package at expressvpn.com/allaboutandroid. That's expressvpn.com/allaboutandroid for 3 extra months free with a 1-year package. Visit expressvpn.com/allaboutandroid to learn more. And thanks, ExpressVPN, for keeping us safe and private on the internet. That said, let's be safe and private as we slide into hardware. All you, Anthony. All right, so we have an exciting review from Matteo in this block, but first we're going to talk about a couple of interesting news items that have happened. Much like the OnePlus 7 Pro, finally, phone manufacturers are doing what I've asked for, and they are coming up with new innovations on these phone designs, specifically around the front-facing camera. The latest entry into the arena of people fighting for innovations on the front-facing camera is Oppo, as they've revealed a working prototype. Like it works. We can show the video. It's working. An under-screen front-facing camera or an under-screen selfie camera. The camera lens sits under the screen, so it doesn't pop up. There's no notch. There's no teardrop. There's nothing like that. It actually uses custom transparent material that works with a redesigned pixel structure so that light can get through the display to the camera. It's crazy. Now, in order to do this, the camera sensor is actually larger than other front-facing cameras. I refuse to call them selfie cameras. It drives me crazy. Yeah. So the sensor itself is larger than other front-facing cameras, and it's got a wider aperture lens in the front. The area of the screen for the camera still works with touch control, and Oppo says that the quality of the display is just as good as anywhere else on the display. It's not compromised by having this camera. And that said, here we're looking at Engadget with their kind of look at this. In the right conditions and the right light, you can see through the display to see the lens, but I'm not surprised by that. That makes sense. And Oppo did acknowledge that putting the screen on under the display on the front of the camera could potentially reduce photo image quality. They do say that the images are as good as competitors. And additionally, of course, like all phone manufacturers, they have software algorithms that work with the hardware in order to make sure that the quality of the photos come out the best they can. So, Matteo, what say you about Oppo and their magical under-the-screen front-facing camera?
I'm really excited by this. Obviously, we've just talked about the OnePlus 7 and other Chinese designs where they go for the bezel-less design, but there's a compromise. They need to have a pop-up selfie camera, or they need to have a notch. So this is maybe a solution to a problem that to some people is very, very important. We want to have as big a screen as possible with as little compromise and experience as possible. And Oppo seem to be working on this prototype to solve that problem. Oppo are quite good at this. They were the first ones to show off the pop-up selfie cameras on their devices early last year, and they've been first to market on that. And it's good to see that others have followed suit. It depends how important this is to you. Obviously, Ron, you said you don't take selfies. I'm just thinking, what is the solution to the selfie camera cover-up? We've seen people have webcam covers, and some people cover the selfie camera on their smartphones because they're afraid of being spied on. What is the solution to this? Cover up part of your screen? It will be interesting to see how that works out going forward. But well done to Oppo for trying this new hardware solution to a problem I'm not entirely sure is that big. But to some people must be.
I mean, if you gave me a phone that didn't have a front-facing camera, I would be fine with it, like at all, completely. I get the novelty of it and the function it provides to some people. Like I said, I don't necessarily need it. But you do bring up a good point about the tape over the camera. How long after this comes out do we see independent developers who make an app that disable the camera or black it out or something, or like create a circle of black pixel that always sits above the camera?
3 days.
3 days. Flo, what do you think? You're a rampant selfie taker. What do you think of this?
I'm just wondering about like what happens if there is a scratch on the display. How does that translate to the camera? How does this phone break? Like those are things I think about now because of the great big Pixel 3 break that I had this year. So, but at the same time, I like the idea of saving some room on the front bezel and giving that to the screen. I mean, it's a new design paradigm that's really like it's really being infused in tech these days. And so I feel like this is just a natural progression. I like it better than the pop-up mechanism.
I gotta tell you, having a screen with no teardrop or no notch, and getting the full, you know how much I love the full bezel. I want to go full bezel as much as I can. It has been awesome. Like, it has been noticeably different. Like the OnePlus 7 Pro has been a dramatic change in getting that little bit of extra screen real estate. It just makes me feel better about the phone. I don't know why. It's weird.
Do you watch TV on your phone, Ron? I watch TV on my phone.
No, I prefer to watch TV on a TV like we did in the old days. Darn it. Well, no, every now and then I will watch video on my phone. Yeah. But here's why I don't like watching TV on my phone, because I'm constantly getting WhatsApp messages and Slack notifications and things like that. And yes, I could put on D&D, but like I don't want, like, I don't know. It's watching video on my phone is not a pleasant experience. Let's put it that way. Unless I'm on the train and I have no other room and I've just got to watch, but it's not my first choice.
Sometimes I like to snuggle in bed with my phone and just watch alone. But anyway, yeah, you're right. It's just thinking it would be really nice to have all that bezel for all that video.
It is, yeah.
So, speaking of bezels, this is a little different than, well, the fads that we've had going around the smartphone world. So Samsung is reportedly bringing back the flip phone. Now, this isn't new. There have been some phone manufacturers who, right? Motorola brought back.
Rumored.
Right, the rumor that they're bringing back the Razr. And then, of course, there are companies like Nokia, for example, not a flip phone, but they did bring back like a classic candy bar. So this is kind of in the realm of what's going on. So according to the South Korean news site ET News, Samsung is said to be developing a new kind of foldable smartphone that takes inspiration from the classic flip phone designs of the yore and folds down the middle of the screen to become more compact when it's not in use. So the device actually has a 6.7 inch screen when it's unfolded, which is pretty darn big. For scale, that's almost as big as, a Nexus 7 tablet. Let's just think about it that way in terms of screen size. And also a 1-inch screen on the exterior to show you basic information. Just like in the olden days, when you have your flip phone with a little display on the front, you would see what messages you have, what time it was, what your service was, and then you would open it and you'd get the full experience. Except in this case, you open it, it's literally almost a tablet. Wow. So apparently this is, when it's open, it's about the size of the Galaxy S10 5G. And if I recall correctly, that one's a little bit bigger than the other. So this is kind of a big phone, but it flips. So it's not, it's not being marketed as that. It's, I don't know.
It's kind of a big phone.
It's kind of a big phone. I think I would want a flip phone, but I don't know because I haven't been in that world for a long time. I also didn't know if I would ever switch to a phone like this, and then
what choice did you have? We never had any other choice. Yeah. I don't know, Matteo, what do you think of the flip phone revolution?
Well, I'm just laughing at this, considering the recent issues Samsung have had with the Samsung Galaxy Fold. Yes. I think they had maybe an excess of inventory of foldable screens, and they just decided to fold them the other way and repackage it as a different product.
I thought that too.
It just sounds as if they've got the same screens as in the Galaxy Fold. They've folded them differently, and they've changed the orientation of the external screen. Obviously, this is facetious. I'm joking. It sounds as if that Samsung's products pipeline has a lot of foldables in it. They really want to sell foldable devices, and this is just another form factor for the paradigm of foldables. And I think it's something that people will be more comfortable with. A certain amount of nostalgia, as we know, works well in the smartphone market. BlackBerry made a bit of a comeback a couple of years ago, thanks to that nostalgia feeling. And Nokia is back as well with that nostalgia. So maybe Samsung can capitalize on that nostalgia feeling for flip phones. And will they be first to it, or will Motorola? We'll just have to wait and see.
And will others follow suit?
It's interesting that you mentioned about nostalgia, because nostalgia, as Flo can attest, given how excited she is for August to come, is a powerful thing. And that was a 90210 reference.
I know. I was just thinking. I ranted a lot about season 8 today. Anyway, yes.
It's not going to be good, Flo. We need to mentally prepare for this. It's not going to be good. But no, nostalgia factor, like the fact that people can be like, oh, this is like that phone I had. I think the flip phones are going to do very, very well. I think it's going to be similar to how we made fun of the Note for being so freakishly large and stuff like that. We're going to make fun of who would want this, and you'll see more and more people choosing this, partially because it's nostalgic, but also because it's different than the phones we've seen for the past 10 years.
Yeah, go ahead, Matteo.
Sorry, just to say, Samsung has never really stopped making flip phones. They sell flip Android phones in Korea and select Asian markets.
You can still get a Samsung flip phone here if you want something super cheap.
All right. Yes, in the sort of not smartphone segment, but they are doing proper smartphones for Asian markets, just because that numeric keypad is a very, very convenient way of doing text input in non-Latin character languages.
Oh yeah, good point.
Yeah.
So they've never really stopped doing flip phones, but this is going to be the new generation of flip phones for Western markets. So also leveraging their new foldable paradigm.
Are you guys going to be able to, Matteo, could you buy a flip phone now on whatever that Alibaba Walmart site you buy things from? What is the name of that
AliExpress.
Site? That's the one.
Yes, you can buy flip phones on AliExpress. At MWC this year, one of the highlights for me was walking through the halls of the smaller Chinese OEMs and ODMs, the original equipment manufacturers and original device manufacturers, and seeing how many feature phones were being sold and how cheap you could get them when buying in volume. I won't laugh at it too much, but there was one stand, which is a company in Shenzhen called Samgle, and they were just inviting legal litigation from Samsung and Google because they're using the Samgle. Yes, Samgle.
I'm trying to look it up.
They were using the S from the Samsung S devices from 2012, 2013, and primary colors and characters from the Google logo.
That's
and
great.
They were selling these wonderful feature phones and flip phones for around about $5 each if you bought 3,000 of them. And I was seriously tempted to buy a few thousand and put the Tech Travel Geeks logo on them and start an online store selling them. But the more cautious side of my mind took over and said no.
Oh my God, Anthony, please go to Samsung.com.
Yeah, Anthony, do you mind going? I just dropped the link in the chat.
For those of you watching the
people
video
need to
show,
see. Look at the logo.
If you go to samgle.com,
SAMGLE.
It's literally the old Google logo. The GLE is pretty much copy and pasted from the old Google logo. And the old S from Samsung, and I guess they made an A and an M, and it is hysterical.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh, I rock that.
Model. That rainbow Samgle phone is called an 8110, which is ripping off Nokia's model number.
I was just thinking that. That is a total ripoff of Nokia. How have they not?
Here's my question: why are these not in America? I mean, aside from the whole tariff war and the trade war, but like these phones would totally sell here. Yeah. Oh my God, Samgle.
They probably are. And they're branded by network, so they'll be in magenta or yellow or light blue or red.
The Metro PCS Samgle 23.
Yes, but this is one of the things. The flip phone has never died. These feature phones have never died. We're just not aware of this enormous market that is out there. So Samgle, if you're looking for a comedy device, they're there.
That's great.
I want to buy one just to have that rainbow one.
Matteo, this was worth having you on the show just for samgle.com. You can go back to bed now if you want. This is great.
Thank you.
All right. Well, one more story, and then we'll get to your Nokia review. But real quickly, we talk a lot about phones, and we talk about Android, stuff like that, but we forget but we don't often talk a lot about the other Android devices that are in market. So I thought it was interesting when I saw that Strategy Analytics released some sales numbers from Q1 2019 about TV hardware. and including the Android TV and Chromecast devices. And I got to tell you, Android TV and Chromecast are getting their lunch eaten by Roku. Roku is having an amazing a point in their career, in their history right now. They've got a record-setting quarter with 30% of U.S. sales being Roku devices, bringing their total up to 41 million devices, including both Roku boxes and smart TVs.
Look at that graph.
Yeah, and so as comparison with Android TV and Chromecast, only 9% of all devices in the U.S. sold in Q1 of 2019 were either Android TV or Chromecast. So it's not even just like Android TV or Chrome. It's like 9% is both of them total. Like, so that's not so good. And Chromecast and Android TV are even sitting below Amazon's Fire TV and Samsung's Tizen, which are both at 12 and 11% respectively. And a quote from the strategy analytics analyst said that Google and Amazon clearly have their work cut out to stay in touch with the market leader. So bravo Roku and Chromecast and Android TV. Got a lot of work to do there.
I had no idea. I thought Roku was getting their lunch eaten by Google, but I guess it's just because I'm in my own bubble at this point.
Yeah. It is important to note that this does include Roku smart TV app, so it includes the sales of smart TVs with Roku stuff in there, as the lines blur between dongle devices and set-top boxes and TV devices themselves. But even then, Roku is clearly being in market for as long as they have been, is allowing them to stay firm as the market leader.
Also, I'd like to point out that Nintendo was on that graph as a streaming device. I'm thinking that has to do with the Nintendo Switch because it has like YouTube and Hulu now, and I think Netflix. Just a little something to think about. All the kids out there watching Hulu on their Switches. Anyway, Matteo, you have something for us. Exciting.
I do. So we were talking about feature phones and flip phones. And whilst those do have a space in the market, they're still popular devices. So does the budgets segment of the Android market. And one of the brands that's been doing quite well in that segment since coming back as a brand has been Nokia. Now, Nokia have, in my experience, a pretty patchy record in the last few years with regards to Android and their promises at launch. I was very enthusiastic about Nokia when they announced their products under the stewardship of HMD, the new company behind the brand. And was a bit disappointed that some of their devices don't actually get the promised updates. So especially in the lower end of the market, the Nokia 2, the Nokia 1, which I reviewed on All About Android last year, have not had frequent security updates. They haven't been updated to newer versions of the operating system as early as expected. But the good news is Nokia have been working closer with Google on Android One devices. And the Nokia 4.2, which I'm reviewing today, is an Android One device. That means that the security patches get released on a monthly basis, and that operating system devices are pushed by Google and Nokia much, much faster than they would be if they weren't part of the Android One program. Now, the Nokia 4.2 is I'd say a budget device. It's around about £150 unlocked in the UK. So think less than $200. And that gets you a capable smartphone. It's not a full high-definition screen. It's an HD screen with 19:9 aspect ratio and a notch at the top. It's a teardrop notch. It has both the Courage port, that's the 3.5mm audio jack, and a Nostalgia port, that's micro USB port at the bottom. And on the inside, it's powered by a Qualcomm Snapdragon 439 chipset. So this is a much lower tier chipset than, say, the Snapdragon 6 series, 7 series, or 8 series. But it's perfectly capable for everyday use. So what most people do on their smartphones is messaging, streaming music, or playing back music or video that is stored locally, taking pictures. All the basics are covered, and it does it very, very well. The device does struggle with things like gaming. if you're playing some demanding games. And it can also struggle if, for example, you're playing Pokemon Go. In certain situations, for example, raids or with the new Harry Potter game, it will struggle there. But for most people, the Nokia 4.2 is a great device. And I say it's a great device because usually in this price range, in that sub $200 price range, they cut corners in some features. Usually it's NFC. If you look at a lot of Chinese devices, they don't have NFC because there's no market need for them, and they don't think there's a need to add NFC when shipping the devices overseas. Nokia, on the other hand, have included NFC, so you can use it for Google Pay, you can use it for your local transit apps, and it works well. I have been using Google Pay on this. And another area where they don't seem to have cut the corners too much is the camera. So there's the dual camera on the back, which does do bokeh effects. I haven't fully finished testing the camera, but initially I do get the feeling that in good lighting conditions, it's a perfectly usable camera, whereas it does struggle in the dark. But my full review will be on Tech Travel Geek soon. And we mentioned it's Android One, so Nokia have been working with Google. They haven't just been working on the operating system itself. The Nokia 4.2 has a dedicated Google Assistant button on the left-hand side of the device. So, Anthony, if you go to the album I put on techtravelgeeks.com, and you can see that in this image, it's on the right-hand side. There's a dedicated button in the middle there for Google Assistant. And on the other side, you have a power button and a volume rocker. I really like the positioning of the power button and the volume rocker because the power button is lower down. But the really cool thing about the power button is that it's also an LED notification light. So the button itself lights up to notify you if you have any notifications. That's the Google Assistant button on the side, and that's a really cool feature. Sadly, there's no side-mounted fingerprint reader. The fingerprint scanner is on the back. It's very shallow, so I find myself when I'm using the Nokia 4.2 touching the camera module more than I touch the fingerprint reader. It takes a while to get used to and to start finding it. And here you can see the notification power button that I think is a really cool feature. So essentially, the Nokia 4.2 is a great device under $200. As I said, there have been fewer compromises than their competitors have had. And you get the bonus of that Nokia nostalgia. And it is a very well-built device. It feels solid in hand. It's a bit plasticky, and it's a bit of a fingerprint magnet, but it is very nice.
Banana for scale.
But obviously, banana for scale. Sadly, I couldn't find my Nexus 5 for scale because obviously we know that the Nexus 5 is one of the best all-time devices in the history of Android.
The inaugural entry into the Android Hall of Fame.
Exactly. So if you look at the physical footprint of the device, despite this having a 5.7-inch 19:9 aspect ratio screen, it is physically the same size as the Nexus 5 was. So you're getting a very manageable device. It's a one-handed use device for a decent budget. But as I said, there is the risk that if you want to play games, you're going to struggle on this device. Otherwise, it's a perfectly good smartphone for everyday use. And the full review of this will be on techtravelgeeks.com in written form in the coming days.
Cool.
But there you are.
I think
excellent.
Nokia is back. I'm hoping Android One makes up for their early mistakes with what was Android Go and their early Android releases on devices like the Nokia 2, which were never really updated properly.
I remember those phones. They were promising.
Time will tell.
Yeah. That phone looks really nice, by the way, Matteo, especially that pink one to have kind of an affinity for. It looks very pixely.
It does, and I think that's partly because of the close relationship between Nokia and Google. Sadly, they didn't have the pink one in stock when I purchased one in the Carphone warehouse. I had to settle for black, but you can always go to AliExpress and pick a Mocodile case to go on it.
That's very true.
There you go. If you're playing Matteo Bingo at home, you can cross off Mocodile. And Banana for Scale. That segment had 2 Matteo Bingo hits, everyone.
And I made a hooves joke at the beginning of the
You did. No, I know,
show.
I know. Yeah, but the Mocodile is really the one.
Extra points for that one.
Yeah. So, excellent. Well, thank you, Matteo. That's awesome.
Thank
Flo,
you,
we got
Matteo.
another email, don't we?
Yeah, we got another email. We love to hear from our listeners and our viewers. So this one comes from Steve Duke. Steve writes in, I have a pest control business in Alabama and recently updated the phones for my 3 techs with the new Pixel 3a. It has been great. In the past, I would always have to buy them phones that were a generation or 2 behind, so I wasn't spending $1,000 a piece on phones. I tried the Kyocera Duraforce Pro 2 that didn't even last the full 2 years of the contract. This was on Verizon BT Dubs. Before becoming so slow and useless that I had to buy Galaxy J7s just to get through the end of the contract. The J7s had issues with people on the other line not being able to hear them speak, so they would have to restart them constantly. When I heard on your pod that Google was coming out with a mid-range phone, I decided I'd go with that. It has been great so far. Pretty much bought them the week they came out. I have a Samsung 9 Plus S9 Plus myself. I use it for work and personal, but if they keep making the A-line, then I will probably just go with that when it's time for me to upgrade as well. My techs and I have been very impressed, and I would never have known these phones were coming out if I hadn't been listening to your podcast. Thank you so much. Hope all is well. And for anybody in Alabama who needs a pest service, that's Stephen Duke at Duke Pest Services, which I'm sure is Googleable. Thank you, Stephen, for writing in.
All About Android recommends Duke Pest Services.
Yes.
For all your pest service needs.
I like,
in Alabama.
Just as a side note, I like hearing this because I think that was the whole point of Google making the Pixel 3As, was to have them be for folks who said, I am tired of what is available at that $300-$400 price point, and I want something that will get updated, that has the de facto Google features. So I guess good on Google, and we'll see how much of this sells, right, in a couple of months, and really get the full story then.
We'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see.
The Pixel A series is great. I think they've just to make a pest control joke. I think that since release they've ironed out those bugs.
Nice one, Matteo.
Oh, there it is.
Slow clap. Slow
If
clap.
you had dad joke on your Matteo Bingo card, you can now cross that off.
Yeah.
So thank you.
you.
All right. So thank you, Matteo. We're going to take a break and thank our next sponsor, because this episode of All About Android is brought to you by IT Pro TV, experienced IT professionals who deliver comprehensive training at the click of a mouse. Did you know that IT Pro TV is CompTIA's official video training partner? They have 12 CompTIA on-demand courses, CompTIA A+, Network Plus, and Security Plus certs. So if you're an IT professional, you need to know about IT Pro TV. And a more important question is, have you registered for 2019 ChannelCon in Las Vegas, Nevada? If you haven't, you should, because IT Pro TV and CompTIA are taking a road trip on their way to ChannelCon and could be making a pit stop in your city. They're stopping by offices and saying thank you to the IT pros around the country who, and now let's face it, let's be honest, are the unsung heroes of every company. And that's totally true. The IT department, whenever you start a job, you want to make friends with the IT department. They're the ones who are going to hook you up. And IT Pro TV and CompTIA know this, and that's why they're stopping by to say thank you. And you could follow their journey on YouTube. Tune into ChannelCon online to get behind-the-scenes interviews, daily wrap-ups, and more, and learn new skills and earn CEUs. You don't want to miss out on this. Become a member of the IT Pro TV family by purchasing a standard membership, which is video only, for just $28.50 a month. Or you can upgrade to premium membership that includes video and labs and practice tests for $42 a month. But wait, you can save even more, because IT Pro TV is still honoring our special offer that's 30% off for Twit listeners. That drops the standard membership to only $19.95 a month or $199 a year, and the premium to $29.50 a month or $295 a year. That's insane savings, and it could be yours if you go to go.itpro.tv/allaboutandroid and use code AA30 to get started with your standard or premium membership today. That's go.itpro.tv/allaboutandroid. And don't forget to use code AA30 for an additional 30% off for the lifetime of your active subscription. IT Pro TV, build or expand your IT career and enjoy the journey. Thanks, IT Pro TV, for helping us be better IT professionals and for sponsoring this episode. All right, we're going to head over to apps country. The soothing sound of apps.
Ah, yes, apps. The things that make our phones interesting to use.
Well, Flo, this next story I picked out because I feel like it's relevant to you.
It is. I have to be honest, though, I haven't quite used this app yet. So I've officially switched back to Windows 10. I besides this little machine right here in front of me, the Chromebook, and I love it. And one of the apps that I have downloaded that I still have not used is the Your Phone app for Windows 10. Now, the reason I haven't used it, FYI, is because it is very distracting, and I like to just not have that. But those of you who are using the app might be interested to know that it can now, the Your Phone app for Windows, it can now mirror your Android notifications, like officially. So you'll be able to view and manage notifications as they come in without picking up your phone. You're going to have to do this through the app, though. It's not going to come in through the notifications pane on Windows 10. Or actually, maybe it is if I look at the screenshot closely. I haven't used it, so I can't speak to it. The feature is rolling out broadly for all Your Phone users now. About 50% of PCs right now have access to it. There's no quick replies supported yet, but there is some rumblings that that's something that's coming down the pipeline. I imagine that this will be updated with some new features as they come, as just another way to make Windows 10 a little more friendly to those who long ago abandoned the Windows mobile platform. Sorry, was that?
All right. That's fair. I mean, part of this is Microsoft admitting that a lot of their users use Android.
I mean, Bill Gates admitted that he wished.
So if you're a Windows user and you're on Android, you can now get your notifications on your machine. That's pretty cool. I think that's a nice little olive branch. You don't see it working with iOS devices.
I will also say one of the reason I don't, and actually Android to a Mac is still kind of a finicky thing. You have to get the Android device manager and set that whole thing up.
No, it's not that bad. I mean, with Pushbullet and then also, but now, I mean, if you want to get your notifications, Pushbullet is the way to go with the Chrome extension. But the main thing I use for notifications is text messages, and Google. I'm using Google Messenger, and their web app is perfect. It gives you notifications and all that stuff. Yeah. So.
I was going to say Google Chrome has effectively become my platform. So whenever, doesn't matter what device I'm on or what computer I'm on, I have all of those things available. Messages.android.com, right?
It's powerful.
Yeah.
All right. So real quickly, Mozilla, remember Mozilla, Firefox?
Oh yeah, stuff? They're still going strong, by the way.
They are. They're doing great stuff, and they actually announced Firefox Preview, which is a pilot of their new Android browser. Firefox Preview is powered by their Gecko View engine, and it's going to eventually replace the current Firefox for Android mobile app sometime this fall. And then at the same time, Mozilla's put Firefox Focus for Android development on hold. So if you're a developer or just an early adopter, you can go download Firefox Preview from Google Play now. So a lot of people are very loyal to Firefox, and this is the next generation of Firefox on Android. I don't know. I'm locked into Chrome. I'm not gonna switch at any point, but I always like to see what Firefox is doing and that sort of thing. Matteo, what's your browser of choice? Let me guess. It's Opera, isn't it?
Good guess. No, I'm just joking. Obviously I have a history as a tester, therefore I make sure I have all browsers on my machine. And you mention Opera on desktop. I actually use an offshoot of Opera called Vivaldi, which is a pun in of itself. It's just a Chromium-based web browser with some powerful tab management tools and a few extra features. But on mobile, on my Android devices, I'm obviously locked into Chrome. I have been using Edge for some things. I find that Edge has worked better for me with some tools such as Jira when doing work on mobile. But yes, I use all browsers, but my preferred one, especially on Android, is Chrome. On desktop, it's Vivaldi.
I don't know, guys. I'm thinking I want to move away from Chrome myself. The cookie tracking is getting out of hand, and I went in and I tried to disable cookies, and it's like, and then it broke everything. So I want a safer browser at this point. If anybody has any suggestions, I have been using Brave, but apparently the CEO of Brave is not a good person. So, yeah. So it's a delicate dance that we play out here. And Chrome too. Sometimes it feels a little bloated. Sometimes it can be a little bloated because it's a platform.
Yeah, Microsoft Edge. I've heard very good things about the new version of Microsoft Edge because it's running on Chromium, but they've taken a lot of the Google juice out of it. Therefore, it runs faster.
Yeah, it is. And actually, fun fact, I use Edge specifically for online shopping because of all the cookies associated with online shopping. I find that Edge is just a faster browser to do that. So Edge is the new way to shop. That's my slogan. All right. So speaking of beta things, the Android Q beta is currently going on right now. I have it installed on my phone. We're at beta 4 right now for those who are up to date. But coming soon in beta 5, we can look forward to gesture nav with peeking app navigation drawers. So Chris Baines, a Googler, confirmed it on Twitter today being Tuesday. So instead of simply swiping to access the drawer, you press to peek the drawer, which will allow it to be swiped. Now, I can't show it to you because, well, A, I don't have this. B, I'm also on a different launcher. This is a less fluid motion, but it doesn't require developer interaction. It works on all apps. So even those apps that are using the old drawer layout version. So drawer layout was a class, I believe is what you would refer to it as. And any app that is still using that will work with this mechanism, which just kind of helps a little bit with the backward compatibility. I don't know, guys, so Ron, you're not on the beta as far as I know, because you're on the OP.
I'm on the OP7P.
Yeah, I'm on the beta, but I'm using Launcher because I want my things to look the way I want them to look. Matteo, what about you?
On my Google Pixel 3 XL, I'm on the beta and I'm using the stock or presets Pixel launcher. I haven't noticed this peak feature myself, probably because I'm on beta 4, but I'm looking forward to trying out the next version with this feature. To be honest, I'm just here to hear Ron say drawer layout.
You mean app drawer?
Yes.
Or the drawer layout?
Exactly.
I wish I had an
accent. If you've got Ron on your bingo card, mispronunciation of drawer, you could check that off.
Now I need to make a bingo for all of us because I feel like we could really monetize on this.
All about Android bingo.
That's a really good web development exercise.
Flo's card includes mentions of Kardashians, 90210.
No, I don't mention them anymore. I'm done with the Kardashians.
Thank God.
They've gotten too terrible for me to continue. I can only support so much awfulness at a time.
Oh. All right, fair enough. Good.
So,
all right. Cool.
Are you guys ready? Are you guys ready?
Well, the better question is, Matteo, are you ready?
Yeah, are you ready to duke it out?
I'm ready, and I've got a curveball for you all.
Okay.
Oh, heyo.
So many enter, but only one lives. Android Arena.
Do we want the curveball now, or wait till we get to your app? You're not going to change your app, are you?
The app.
Okay,
no.
All right.
I'll leave the app as it is.
Well.
All right. So last week in episode 426. It was a runaway hit for Any Ride, Who had AnyRide? Was that you,
I
Flo?
did.
Yeah, that was you. Yeah, so Flo comes in first with 41% of the vote with AnyRide. And then coming in second was Moobert, which was our guests app, I believe. Was it?
Was that Jason's?
Yes, it was. Was it Jason's? No, it was Jason's. It was Jason's. Right. Because what came in third was Bloons TD6, which was the Joe Hindy's tower defense game. And then coming in last, I thought I had something going on with the AR apps, but Doodle Lens did not cut it. It came in last with 16% of the vote, coming in fourth. With those results, Flo, you are still firmly in first place at 78 points. The guests did climb a little. They are now within 10 points of you, Flo. Guests, or Team G, as represented by Mr. Matteo Doni tonight, have 69 points. I am in third place with 53 points, but Jason's in last with 51 points. He was catching up to me, but now he's going to get a big fat 0 because he decided to go on vacation, and that's what happens when you don't come to All About Android.
That's what happens.
And so that said, since I came in last, technically, of our group, I will go first.
And then Matteo.
Matteo will go second, and then Flo. So, Flo,
it's my turn to open the stuff on my app for you guys. Whoa, something... Whoa, my launcher just crashed. Oh, you know why my launcher crashed?
Why? Because my app is a launcher?
Yeah.
Or because you're watching Pluto TV instead of doing the show?
Yeah, no. Hold on. It's okay. Let me try this again. All right. Okay. This is yours. Got it.
Okay. All right. So it's been a while since I've done a launcher, and Seri Launcher caught my eye. And Seri Launcher is a new launcher. And Flo's going. You can just next through the whole kind of onboarding process. But I love seeing an independent dev trying to add something to the fun world of Android. What Seri Launcher does is it gives you a very, very different looking launcher main screen. It's got the clock there to tell you what time it is because it's important. And then the little Calvin icon is their little icon to get you to rate their app, which is silly. But then it shows you your messaging in your phone app. But the idea is that it will bubble up your most used apps in this area of the screen. Which is, like what I find fascinating by is that I have like 170 apps installed or something like that on my phone. But if you look at my app usage, I use like 10. Right. And so like there's something to be said for, kind of adapting the phone to adjust to how you actually use it. But where Seri Launcher kind of excels is if you swipe down, not all the way from the top, just go a little under from your there you go. So what you do is instead of an app drawer, you can search for apps. Right. And so like let's say you want to look for your podcast. So you type in Pocket Care or Lyft. You wanted to do Lyft. Right. And when you type in Lyft, it either recommends the app itself or you can search the web for Lyft. Now, Flo, even though if Lyft isn't one of your most used apps, but one you want to use all the time, if you long press on the icon, it will there. So, and you can add it to your favorites. And then now if you go back to, or if you hit home or whatever, you go to the thing, there now Lyft appears there in the little big bubble of icons and that sort of thing. So pretty simple, pretty, there's elegance and simplicity. If you were to swipe up from the bottom, Flo, you can see down there, on the right is the settings button, and then the second to the right is the wallpaper. So if you tap on that, you can change the background, you can change your wallpaper, you can choose to blur it or not, or add in a dark mode if you have an OLED display, which is interesting. But then if you go into the settings itself, here we are, support your devs. If you want to upgrade to the paid version, right, which is 99 cents. Okay. Well, actually, it starts at 99 cents, but you can scroll. You can give more if you want, which I think is a great function, a little bit of function. But if you go back, don't actually do it. You can unlock what he calls tweaks and scroll up, and it lists all the tweaks that you can unlock. So scroll up down at the bottom. Scroll. There you go. So you can hide the Calvin icon, which is smart. You can replace the search. You can move it away from Google. You can disable the visual effects. You can add a dark clock. You can disable the clock. And then down at very, very bottom, you can see coming soon. He's going to add notification dots. So this is just an independent dev who had an idea for a launcher and gave it a shot. And so I want to support that. So Seri Launcher is unreleased, but it's free in the Google Play Store, which means it's super early. He does admit that it works best on Android 8.0 or higher. And yeah, it's a new launcher to check out and play with if you want a different look for your phone. So it's free in the Google Play Store. Check it out.
Cool. Oh, I like this.
All right.
It's very simplified.
Very simplified. I like it. And I
simplified.
like the idea of either identifying your favorite apps or having the ones use the most bubble up. That's great.
Yeah.
Yep. Siri Launcher.
All right. Thank you so much, Ron. That was a great pick. All right. So up next, we've got you, Matteo.
Right, thank you. So I mentioned this is going to be a curveball. Yes, it is a non-goat related app. I've brought this game to the arena because it's one that I've been playing quite a lot, and I really enjoy. It is not a super exciting, graphically pleasing game, but it's one which appeals to, in my case, my sort of geeky side. So it's an airline manager game where you need to set up your airline. You give it a name, as Flo is doing now, Flow Air or Airflow. You then...
I have to check availability. Somebody else has it already.
Yes, try Airflow. You essentially set up your airline name, and then you go into this online table to see if it's available. It is a multiplayer game, as in you're ranked and you compete against other players, and you choose which markets you're based in, where you're starting. You choose your first hub as an airline. You decide where to be based. So,
Obviously.
So you're choosing San Francisco. That's where your airline hub will be. And you can choose how real it is or not. And go ahead, and that will get you into...
I want easy. Can I do easy? Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
And you want to play in English, I assume, unless you want to practice your Romanian.
Not right now.
And then you can create your airline. So this creates your airline, and this is your dashboard. This will give you a quick walkthrough of the navigation bar at the bottom with all the different screens. It's a great onboarding experience. It's a very good way of introducing new players to the game, explaining the dynamics. But the fundamentals are that you have a basic dashboard, which is the left side, which gives you an idea of your finances, how much you have to pay your staff in salary, how many aircraft you have, how many aircraft you have pending delivery, and how many active routes you have, as well as fuel, the current cost of fuel, and your bonus points. So in this case, Flo, you're starting off with one Boeing 737-100. It is an aircraft that has been delivered. So if you go to the second button from the right at the bottom navigation panel, the one that has routes on it, yes, you can start and set up a new route.
Ooh.
So you select your plane, and from there, you can see that you're based in San Francisco. You can add a destination. But I like this because it's actually a data-driven game. Rather than just choosing a destination based on your interest or based on what you want to do, you can actually go and do research on that. So
sorry, I just chose.
You chose Otopeni Airport,
it won't
which
let
is
me.
the Bucharest one.
Oh, interesting. It won't let me do it. The max range is. Oh, I can't go that far.
So you can't go that far. You could add a stopover if you can get the distance right, but that is quite a long haul route.
Yeah.
So ideally, if you go to the top of the routes creation button, there's at the very top of that scrollable page, you can suggest and then choose suggest by demand and see where people want to fly to from San Francisco within this fictitious world. And it's MMOX. It's a 99% demand route.
All right.
Which is very high. So if you click on next, you can then set your price for the tickets or auto price the tickets. If you press the purple button with auto price, that will...
Purple. Sorry, my nails are long, so it's hard to... I'm not good for touching the screen.
And you give it a flight number. Traditionally, you would put a 1 in it, but I'm assuming you're going to put 90210 as your flight number.
I'm going to put 411 just because that's all I could think of.
Great. And you'll see some basic statistics at the bottom. So your distance of that route will be 3,396 kilometers. You'll be using 33,000 pounds of fuel, and it will take 4 hours. So you click on Create Route.
Oop. Oh, we're going to Mexico for this one. Cool.
So if you click on See Routes, you'll need to actually tell them to take off and take your passengers to Mexico. So if you click on the Depart button, that's it done. And you have departed your first flight with 118 passengers. You've made some money, and that's going to take 4 plus hours to get to destination. So this is, on the surface, a pretty straightforward game, but it has some really fun dynamics in terms of demand for traffic for airlines and routes. It has interesting competitions in the tables. And there's a lot of data-driven things that really appeal to my inner geek, that really make me enjoy this. What you can do is, if you press the middle button on the bottom navigation panel, you can then look into banking. You can float your airline on the stock exchange. You can look at the airline statistics by the button that says Airline.
Oops.
And in this case, you've departed one flight. There's not much there, but if you go into the... Okay, you won't be able to see it at the moment. But the more you use the game, the more flights and routes you have, you will start having more options. And not only that, you also need to maintain your aircraft. There will be different types of checks. You need to buy fuel depending on fuel prices. And hedge your strategy accordingly. And then you need to also decide what level of service you have on your airline. Will you be offering extra services on board, like duty-free, free alcohol, and so on?
Ooh.
There's a lot of really cool little features which make this game compelling. And also, it's a time-based one, so you don't always have to be playing it. You can depart your flights, tweak your company settings, and then go off, spend your day doing what you do, and then revisit it in the evening if you feel like it. And as I said, my inner geek is really, really tickled by this game because of the amount of really interesting data points and dynamics within the game. And one thing I would say is they have not capitalized on the Boeing 737 MAX issue. You can still buy those in game, and they do fly safely.
I was about to say.
But yes, if you go into the purchase airline, you can then choose from various different aircraft. So it would be the bottom navigation panel, the second button from the left, that one.
Ah, this one, okay.
And the third tab from the left is order aircraft. And you can scroll through the different aircraft manufacturers and then choose the plane you want.
Right.
And you can buy not only new aircraft, but you can buy second-hand ones as well. Cool. So if you wanted to purchase a Concorde and fly a supersonic jet across the Atlantic, or from San Francisco to New York, you could do that. It is very expensive. You'll need to get the pricing of your tickets right and the distribution of first-class seats, business class seats, and economy seats right. It's a very fun game. So
this is like the most Matteo game I've ever seen. This game is more Matteo than any GOAT game you've ever brought to the arena.
Thank you. So travel, geeky numbers, and it's got a pretty competitive table of players. So Airline Manager 3 is my game for the arena. It's not only a vote for Airline Manager 3, it's a vote for Team GG&G. So Gina, guests, and goats. Thanks for having...
If you had Matteo plugging Team GG&G on your bingo card, you win. Mm-hmm. And Matteo, as someone who spent more months than I want to admit playing Railroad Tycoon and all the other various kind of manager games, this is awesome. So good pick.
They're very relaxing.
Yeah.
That was a good one. Thank you, Matteo, for bringing that in. All right. So I brought in an app that really, really has helped me out with my business. I am a freelancer, so I have to manage all of my own, everything. I have to manage everything on my own. And that means saving receipts. That means saving scraps of paper, which is kind of hard to do in this very digital world. So I found a service that I find to be worth the money. So it's called camscanner. It scans paper and it turns it into a PDF, which is super helpful if you've got, you know, a tax person or an accounting person, or you just have a Google Drive where you're like saving every PDF and you just want to put it in there. And so I love this app for that reason. Now, I don't actually have any paper to show you a full demo, which is an absolute oops on my part. That kind of slipped my mind today, and I'm a little afraid to show you what I have already on there because it's...
I think the video here is showing how it works. That's fair. We've done that before.
I can show you very quickly the UI. Just don't zoom in. So this is the UI, and then what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to scan the back of this. These are screen cleaners, if anybody's wondering, just to kind of show you how it pieces it together. So I am going to do this. I'm going to take. Okay, we're just going to take it. So you have different kind of scanning that you can do. As you see here, you can do image to Excel, OCR, ID photo, docs, ID card, if you need to save that in there, book, question book. I don't know what that is, but that's cool. And passports, if you want to scan that, any sort of ID card that you might need. Here, I'm just going to do a document scan. So you just kind of take a picture. You select the area that you want to have saved. So if this were a full document, this would automatically fill out, which is awesome. Sorry, trying to get the glare here. And then you would click OK, and it crops the image, it moves it forward, and it flattens it out so that you can start looking through it like a PDF. And there's a couple of different options at the bottom. If maybe you just want to do a pure black and white copy, it looks like a carbon copy of days past, you can do that. Then you can save it. And the nice thing about this is that it uses OCR on the different images. So if you just need to look up something that is on what used to be a physical file, you can easily do that within this app, or when you upload it to Google Docs, which I found very helpful, you can do that. There's also a signature function, which I found helpful because sometimes people still use physical paper and they still want you to sign physical paper, and so this will let you add your signature. I reinstalled this app since I did all my tax stuff, so I don't think I have my signature in here, but it does let you program that. Here you can do an OCR recognize, so we'll just do fast recognition, set the language, and it's doing its thing. Okay, that failed. Cool. Thanks, demo. All right, so a couple other features that it has. You can easily share from it. You can print from it if you want. You can crop. You can long press to edit. You can upload to the cloud, which I found helpful. And you can add tags as you need. I found it to be very helpful for everything that I needed it for. It also lets you secure documents, so you can put passcodes if you need to. Make sure that somebody isn't going into your phone and looking at your tax documents. So the payment for this is $4.99 a month or $49 for a 1-year subscription. And there's a lot of griping in the comments about the payment. This is for my business, so for me, the payment is all worth it. I really appreciate the utility of this app, so I find it to be worth paying for. And maybe you will too. There are some third-party cloud services that are supported, including Box, Google Drive, Evernote, remember them, and Dropbox. And there is a free version that's ad-supported. It lets you scan in documents, but they are generated with a watermark, and it gives you a limit of 30 pages for adding annotations. And uploading to Evernote and OneDrive is apparently only available for 7 days on that free version, and you can only invite up to 10 collaborators per document, which might be kind of limiting for some. But for everyone else who might find this useful for their business, or maybe you just have physical documents like a lease or something that you want to make sure it's stored, I found you could just pay for it by the month, and it works through the Google payment. So you can easily manage your subscription to the Google Play Store, which I find to be very helpful. So that's CamScanner. It lets you scan things to PDF.
Handy app. That's a handy app. So, all right. So 3 great apps, a classic arena. 3 will enter, 1 will leave. Head over to twit.to/AAPoll427. That's twit.to/AAPoll427, where you can vote for your favorite app. And Anthony, we encourage you to go participate in the voting. If you click on the link in the doc.
Yes, please, Anthony.
And then we would like to see what you vote for, because
you have to make a choice.
We vie for your attention and love, or not. But so you can go to twit.to/AA.
I probably should have warned Anthony about this.
Probably should have, yeah. All right, who's he going to pick?
Yep.
It's a very quick pick, and it's Airline.
Okay.
In fact, I already have it downloaded on my phone.
Oh.
There it is.
Wow.
All right, so we will see. All right, good arena. Mr. Matteo Doni, why don't you tell people where they can find you?
Yeah. What are you up to these days?
So, my colleague and I have set up Tech Travel Geeks. That was just over a year ago. We recently rebranded, so we have a brand new brand, new color palette, and we have started applying this to our YouTube videos on our YouTube channel. That's Tech Travel Geeks on YouTube. So just as you do with your favorite podcast, like All About Android, I invite you to subscribe to Tech Travel Geeks on YouTube, where you'll not only see sample videos from devices we're reviewing for the website, or the full video reviews, which happen to have drone footage in them towards the end, and a few other things, including the Tech Travel Geeks podcast are there. So thank you for the subscription, Anthony. Tech Travel Geeks on YouTube is where to see my sort of smartphone and tech coverage. And on Twitter, you can follow me and follow my travels and cat pictures and pictures of Edinburgh Castle when I'm not traveling around the world. So thanks for having me on All About Android, and Tech Travel Geeks is where you can follow my writing.
Thank you for taking time out of your sleep to be here, Matteo. We really appreciate it. It's always a good time having you on.
It's always a pleasure being on the show. It's just sad Jason wasn't there, but I'm sure he's having a great time with family and friends.
It's our vacation time here in America, so you know.
No one was more upset to miss you, Matteo, than Jason. He was beside himself. But
it's true.
Vacation, you gotta,
all I ever wanted. Gotta get
vacation. Away. Nice, thank
Plus,
you. Very good.
I hear you rebels are celebrating something later this week.
Yeah. Anyway, but I gotta say, Matteo, it's a testament that while Jason's on a vacation, that he would tap you to fill his chair. So that's a strong one. So.
Great, thank you.
All right, Flo, why don't you plug? You can after you.
You want me to plug? Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
My best friend is getting married on Saturday, so I'm not really doing anything. I'm honestly just thinking about that. So until next week, until I come back from that, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at OThatFlow. I'm on Twitch at OThatFlow. When I get back, I'll be back to my regular streaming schedule, which these days has been like Monday afternoons and Sunday mornings seem to work well for me. And of course, if you want to keep up with the work that I'm doing and my podcasts, you can go to florenceion.com and join the Flow feed. All the feed of me. Thank you.
All right. And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at RonXO, and share a little bit of news. Flo, you saw this, but I mentioned before previously that the little pinball startup that I've been working on, Scorbit, we got a great write up in Fast Company.
You did?
On last Friday. Anthony, I put the link there in the doc if you want to share it and show everybody. But the Fast Company did a very in-depth article profiling the work that we're doing at Scorebit and the world of pinball and bringing the internet and connected devices into the world of pinball. It was very focused on my co-founder Jay Adelson, but he's a lot more famous than I am in this world. But I mentioned in the article several times, so a couple times at least. But as a co-founder, it's pretty cool. So if you're interested in that, go check that out in Fast Company. And of course, you can check out Scorebit at scorebit.io. We are hoping to publicly launch later this year. So stay tuned.
Ron, you are so busy.
I am too busy trying to catch up on sleep. So.
All right. Yeah. Well, that is it for this week. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you, everyone in the chat, for chiming in. If you'd like to leave us a voicemail, you can call us at 347-SHOW-AAA. You can send us an email, which we do read on the air, at AAA@twit.tv. Twitter is at Android Show. We do read that. Arena Apps list is available at twit.to/Android Apps, and stats are available at twit.to/ArenaStats. The show notes and past episodes are available at twit.tv/AAA. You can come watch the show live if you're in Petaluma. Just make sure to send us an email at tickets@twit.tv so we can put out a chair for you. Or catch us live here on the stream every Tuesday beginning at 5 p.m. Pacific Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Until next week, everyone, thank you so much for joining us again. And if you're enjoying the holiday, be safe. And if you're just having another week, I hope you have a great week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.